Hello everybody, Sonic Rich here with another video. I have records pulled for like 3 different videos. But Melinda Murphy just did a video. I think it was 12 bands that take up 25% of her record collection. I thought it was pretty interesting. And I'm going to do it. I couldn't keep it to 12 though because I have, I think it was 3 or 4 albums at 19, and that put it to 13, and then I had like 4 or 5 at 17. So I went ahead, I'm doing my top 20. Number 20 is Zappa, and I have 16 albums by Frank Zappa or the Mothers. This is his first solo album, I guess, Hot Rats. Fantastic album. It's got the great song Willie the Pimp, but I also love the gumbo variations and that crazy ass sax. Another good one and great album cover is Weasel's Ripped My Flesh. And my guitar wants to kill your mama. That's probably the most accessible album on that. And the third one I'm going to show by the Mothers and Frank Zappa is this comp. It's called Mother's Day. I bought this when I was in England, and this is a German release, and it's got like songs off of their first 3 or 4 albums. Pretty cool. Number 19, coming in at 19, also has 16 albums, and it's Lou Reed. This is early Lou Reed. I know recently they just released, I think it was for Record Store Day, some Lou Reed, a tape they discovered before Velvet Underground, and I don't believe it's very good. This is really good. This is stuff he recorded in the studio before Velvet Underground. It even has a version of Heroin on it. Yeah. Some surf numbers when he was in bands like the Primitives and stuff like that. It's really good. Probably his most famous song is Transformer, and Walk on the Wild Side was a big hit. I don't think that would be played on the radio nowadays. I mean, people think we're advancing, but I'm not so sure all the time. It's got some great songs. It's got a couple of clunkers. I always liked Andy's Chest and Perfect Day. And probably my favorite Lou Reed album is Berlin, the one that came out right after Transformer. Fantastic album. Now coming in at 18 with 17 albums I have by this artist, but I have 5 different bands, with 17, so they're all tied. But this is Butthole Surfers. What's the name of this album, man? Psychic Powerless, Another Man's Sack. I'm not sure. This might be their first full length. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. It's got a Mexican Caravan. This is a Butthole Surfers Independent Worm, is it? Independent Worm Saloon. If you're not familiar with Butthole Surfers and you're more of a classic rock guy, this is where to start. It's a fantastic album. It's produced by Jack Bruce from Cream. It's a really good rock album. And maybe their most famous is this one that came out in the 90s, and it has the single Pepper on it. Number 17 with 17 records is Jefferson Airplane. This is probably their most famous surrealistic pillow with White Rabbit and what is it? Somebody to Love, the 2 Grace Slick songs. Both big hits. Another really good album is Crown of Creation. This is a pretty psychedelic album. A lot of people like Bathing at Baxter's, but I kind of prefer this one, man. It's kind of trippy. And I have this version here too, which is actually, the front cover is the back cover of the original. This is one of those Taiwan bootlegs. And the last record by them I'm going to show is Jefferson Airplane at Woodstock. Fantastic album. It's a three record set. They're full concert, and it's really good, man. Even Ryan Kidd would dig this, man. They really rock. Coming at 16, but also with 17 records, is Pink Floyd. This is their first album. This is, I believe it was a Register Day version with this cover over the original cover. The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. One of their, I think, classic great albums is Metal. Just a great album. And one that's kind of a transitional record and Obscured by Clouds. I think it's overlooked. I bought this when it came out. I didn't buy Dark Side of the Moon because everybody was buying it, and I was like, man, they discovered my band. You know how elitist us record collectors can be. But yeah, this has touches, or you can see the direction of Dark Side of the Moon. It's got some instrumentals. Some of it's like thrown together a little bit, I guess you could say. But it's a really good album. If you like Dark Side of the Moon. Oh no. Number coming at 15, but also with 17 albums, Bob Dylan, Highway 61 revisited his great album with a Rolling Stone on it. It's a really good album. Like I always say, Bob Dylan can be a wordy guy, but fantastic. I think one of his best albums, in my opinion, is New Morning. This was, I believe, one of those ones that was recorded in Nashville. A lot of it is piano based, and a lot of it's pretty soulful. It's really cool, and it's got the original version of "If Not For You," the song that George Harrison popularized. And the third one I'm going to show by Bob Dylan is a live album, Hard Rain. And this album is pretty hard. It's harder versions of some similar songs. Some people say it's his punk album. I wouldn't go that far, but you can see a harder edge to the man. Coming at 14, and again with 17 records, is the Smiths, Hatful of Hollow. I always used to call this Hateful of Hollow. I don't know, Hatful of Hollow just didn't make sense. This has got BBC recordings, and it has What Difference Does It Make? Fantastic song. This is a comp. All of their studio albums have flaws. None of them are perfect. But man, some of their comps are great. And this is Louder Than Bombs, a great comp. And it's got all the words. And my final one by the Smiths is a bootleg. And it's a comp. And I don't know, I can't remember now if it's BBC recordings or whatever. But this is really good. Alternate versions, yeah. Some instrumental versions. Even some untitled songs, but really good quality. All right, my 13th. And I have 19 albums by this band, believe it or not. And this is Nod. And this is Chonderland Volume 1. And this is Chonderland Volume 2. Now, the first time I ever heard Nod, it was a CD, and it combined these two albums. Fantastic on Rocket Records, is it? But yeah, Nod. These are two really good droney rockin' albums. And the third one I'm going to show by Nod. This is actually one that I've seen shown on the VC when it came out by some of the arty-farty types, you know. And it's got some ambient stuff. It's got some stuff that sounds like Miles Davis in his 70s period. It's got some droney stuff. It's got some rock. But yeah, it's different than those other two. But yeah, the arty-farty crowd like this one, man. Coming in number 12, also with 19 albums, is Black Flag. This is Damage, their first full-length album. Fantastic. I think it's the best punk rock album ever made. And for people that are not into hardcore, or they're more of a classic rock, I would start with this one, Loose Nut. This is basically a hard rock album. In fact, I used to say it all the time, man. The punk bands are playing the best rock in the 80s. I mean, they're better than the hair metal bands, in my opinion. The only problem with this album, it starts off with Loose Nut, which is the title album of the album. And it's the weakest song in the album. Everything else is just fantastic. Annihilate This Week. Just check that out on YouTube, man. It's a rock song. And lastly, by Black Flag, I'm going to show Damaged with Dez. This is Dez right here. He was the singer before Henry. And they had all these songs recorded for the album. His throat couldn't handle the singing anymore. So he went on to play second guitar. Henry joined. It's a really good bootleg. I think there's one song on each side that the sound quality isn't quite up to standard with the others. I mean, why they didn't put Louie Louie on here it's beyond me. Okay, number 11. Again with 19 records. It's the Ramones. This is their debut. Uncommon Parlor is doing a contest, which I will enter. That's one of the videos I have records pulled for. And one of his questions or her demands is show a band where one or more members are dead. Well, everybody's dead in this band. And I always have to, if I get a chance to show my autographed version, I always jump at it. God damn it, I keep hitting the fucking camera. The next Ramones is It's Alive. Double live set. This Hog's Ear Report just showed this, and we were, messaging back and forth that this actually could be their best album, man. The songs are a little punchier. Even the wimpy songs, like Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, got a little bit of a punch to it. But I love side 2, man. They have Havana Affair and followed by Commando. That's just a great 1-2 punch. And probably my favorite album from the 80s is Subterranean Jungle by the Ramones. It's got some great songs by Johnny Ramone. Highest Trails Above, Outsider. I mean, just some great guitar work on this. Now we're at number 10. And I have 20 albums by this artist. And it's the Rolling Stones. Their Satanic Majesty's Request. This could have been a perfect psychedelic album. Only if they would have removed the ending songs on each side. They're kind of wankerish. It starts out with Sing This All Together. And it's kind of goofy, but, it's the opening track. And then it goes into Citadel, In Another Land, 2000 Man. Just great psych. And then it goes back to Sing This All Together again. And it's like an 8-minute version. It's like, oh, man, it just drags on. If they would have put their single Dandelion and the B-side, We Love You, on the album, instead of these 2 wanker songs, I think it would have been one of the best psych albums ever made. And they followed that up with, I think, their best album, Beggar's Banquet. Great photo. I mean, a lot of people, they pick Sticky Fingers, because it's got rock and it's got some country tinges. Well, you know what? This one has that, and way earlier. So I don't know. I love it. And Mick Jagger's vocals is some of the best in rock and roll. Just check out his vocals on Sympathy for the Devil. Parachute Woman, great. Stray Cat Blues and Salt of the Earth. Even Keith gets to sing a little bit on that one. And finally, my third Rolling Stones is Let It Bleed. This is also some people's favorite. It's a bit of a mishmash, but it does flow very well. Same as like Tattoo You, that was a mishmash from different eras and they put it all together. But yeah, this is a classic album, man. All right, now we're up to number 9. There's a lot of records I'm showing. And again, if you're scared off by Captain Beefheart, this is where you want to start. It's a really good rock album, really good production, clear spot. And these next three, I don't know if these are bootlegs or not. They're called Grow Fins Volume 1, 2, and 3. Volume 1 is really good. It's got some early stuff, and I really like their really early garage stuff. Nothing much to see here. And all three of these come with these great booklets. If I remember right, number 2, this song might be the weakest of the three. It's got kind of his weird stuff and like 1-minute songs, and you know, it might be that Trout Mask replica era, which that album sucks. And then you got Volume 3, which is good. I think 1 is the best. This is the second, and the second one, yeah. This got some live stuff from him, and it's I think it's from 1968 or 66 to 82. Okay, my number 8 is Miles Davis. And I believe this is the first Miles Davis album I ever bought. It's one of those twofers that used to come out in the 70s, and they're really good. And there's another one of these with a red cover, and I would like to get it, man. This is from Prestige, and this is actually his albums Cooking and Relaxing, and very good quality, man. But the very first album, Miles album, that I bought when it came out or shortly thereafter was Miles on the Corner. Fantastic album. I dig this album. It starts out kind of weird, you know. Side 1, it's almost like they're in the middle of the song, you know. It's kind of weird. But other than that, man, it's a great album. Sitar, it's psychedelic, it's great. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, classic album. Late 50s, and just a classic lineup. I think that's still the biggest selling jazz album of all time. Another classic is In a Silent Way, and this kind of starts the phase where I like my sweet spot for Miles. And this is a digital remastered directly from the original analog tapes. And when I did my Miles Davis video, I showed all my Miles Davis albums. I said, it really sounds really good. And I got quite a few comments. No, it doesn't. The MoFi is better. Well, I guess the joke was on you. Got a Miles Davis Champions. This was a record store day. And these are outtakes from his Jack Johnson album. The Jack Johnson album is like Miles Davis's rock album. John McLaughlin is just all over that album. And of course, he's on this. And the last album I'm going to show is Agharta by Miles Davis. This is a very dense, doesn't sound like anything else he did. It's just like, man, it's all, I believe the band guys didn't even know what they were going to do. You know, he just told them, you know, okay, this one's going to be 4/4 or 3/5 or whatever. And I saw this record in a Middle Earth Records, and I bought it. I thought, oh man, I've never seen that album. It turns out it's the same one, but this is just the import. I kept it anyways. Okay, my number 7 is Muddy Waters. This is his live at Newport. I would like to get a mono of this, but whatever. Really cool. This is kind of the album that introduced him to white people. And you can really hear it. You know, when he first starts off, it's kind of lukewarm reception. But man, as they go on, man, you can tell the crowd they're clapping. They're really into it. And it was a mixed crowd. It wasn't all whiteys. Muddy Waters, folk singer. This is considered an audiophile album. And look, I got it in the cutout bins. Fantastic album. And it's in great shape because when I bought it, I didn't like it. You know, I liked his electric shit, you know, Electric Mud. This one here, After the Rain, came out after Electric Mud. This one isn't quite as psychedelic as Electric Mud, but it's still got, you know, that. And his version of Rollin' and Tumblin', that one's worth the price of admission alone. Now, a really cool album from the 70s that I really dug is Muddy Waters Live. It's more subtle than that After the Rain. But man, you put the headphones on. When I would come home, you know, after partying or whatever, I'd lay in my bed with the headphones on, and you can like hear like 3 guitar players going, and it's really, really good album, dude. Live at Mr. Kelly's. And the last Miles I'm going to show is Muddy Mississippi Miles. Waters Live. This one is with Johnny Winters. Johnny Winters produced his last 3 albums. Okay, number 6. With 24 albums. I have 24 albums by this guy. And this is Buck Owens' first album. This is before he was signed to Capitol. And it's La Brea Records. I guess a small record label in Los Angeles. And before he recorded this, he recorded a single called Hot Dog under a pseudonym, I think. And it's a rockabilly song. I would love to get a copy of that single. But this is a later day album. And it's one I love, dude. I've given this out as VCLT to several people. I kept this one because it's in the shrink. And it starts out with a couple of, side one, with a couple of country songs. And then it goes into Summertime Blues, the Eddie Cochran song, and then Memphis, the Chuck Berry song. And his version of Memphis may be my favorite, man, because he's such a good singer, and the words to the song are so clear. It's like, wow, this is a touching song. And then he does a new version of Hot Dog, the rockabilly song he did back in the 50s. This is live at Carnegie Hall, and I just pulled this one out because of look at those suits, dude. Buck Owens, I Don't Care. You thought the Ramones were the original punkers? No. Buck Owens, I Don't Care. Instrumental hits of Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. This has his hit single Buckaroo on it. Fantastic. I saw him, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years before he passed away. He was at my mom and dad's 50th wedding anniversary. We booked space at the Crystal Cathedral, the place he owns here in Bakersfield. And he came out, and the opening song was Buckaroo. And you hear those guitars, you know, and Rickenbacker guitars, and you go, wow. Now I can see the influence this guy had on the Beatles. This one here is, It Takes People Like You to Make People Like Me. Just a fantastic, this is a really good album, a little bit later. But I'm showing this one, man, because it has the Kmart sticker where I used to go looking at records all the time as a kid. Okay, now we're at my number 5. And I got 26 albums by this man. And it's Pale Public Image Limited. This is their 3rd release. It's actually it has songs from their first album and from their second album. And it's really well done. Recorded live in Paris. This is another live album. It's a bootleg. And this is in 1982. Bought this. And then after listening to it, by the dialogue, I remembered I was at this gig. I was, oh wow, I forgot all about it, because I saw Public Image quite a bit in the 80s. The first time I saw him was 79. But yeah, he played quite a bit, or he toured a lot, and I saw him quite a bit in the 80s. Now this next album is the last one he did with Keith Levine. And this is Commercial Zone. And it looks like it's a bootleg, but it actually isn't. The record company, Virgin Records, released it. And what it is I don't know if Keith Levine quit the band or Johnny Rotten kicked him out of the band. But Johnny Rotten re-recorded all the songs, and this is the album. This is what you want. This is what you get. And it's the same songs, but the production on this is pretty kind of weird. This is, I think, way better. And again, for people that are into rock and roll, classic rock, and not so much, you know, the punk stuff, this is the album you need to check out. Like Thor. I don't think Thor watches my videos, but yeah. Peel album. The generic album. This is a great album. It's got Ginger Baker on drums. It's a really hard rocking album, man. And I got the generic 12-inch single of Rise. And I've got a generic concert recorded in that tour. Let's see. Yeah. And I've got a generic interview disc. All right. Now we're in my top 4. Oh, there's a lot of records here. My number 4 band I have the most records of is Red Cross. This is their first release on Posh Boy Records. I've seen this release with a picture sleeves, and it was on sale. It was, I think, on either eBay or Discogs. They're going original first pressing, and they were asking a ridiculous amount of money. And no, that is not. It's a later pressing. The original pressings came on with this sleeve. But yeah, I think they were 12 and 14 when they released this, the McDonald Brothers. This is their second release, Red Cross. And this is the last release they had with the name spelled like this. The Red Cross charity or whatever, disaster relief. You know, sent them a letter, you know, cease and desist. They sent a cease and desist letter to 14 and 16-year-olds. That's pretty funny. It's got the famous song Linda Blair on it. And that's where they got the name Red Cross. If you know the movie, you know. This is their third album, and this is the first with the new font. And it's not a full length, it's an EP. And this is all covers, but this is one of their best albums, man. If it's not their best, it's their second best album, I think. And it's just fantastic, dude. The covers they do on here, they do Anne by Iggy and the Stooges, and their version's better. They do Citadel by the Stones. It's just a fantastic choice. The Deuce by Kiss. I think their version of Deuce is better. And they recently came out with this. And what this is this album and then another EP's worth of material. It was like, it's a different lineup, a little bit after this. And it has like Dancing Queen by ABBA. It has a Beatles song. We Can Work It Out. It's not quite as good as this. Now, when you order this on Bandcamp, the digital copy you get for free has this first and then this material. And it's pretty cool. But on the album, they kind of mix it. And I don't know, it's not quite as good. Their second to last album in the 80s, 87. Do I dare say, you can, touches of grunge. But it's much more than that, man. It's just fantastic. Got some really good songs on here. Janis, Jeannie, and George Harrison. And then, just a good album. But probably their best album, if it isn't for that EP, it's this one. This just rocks hard all the way through. And it came out in the early 90s. I don't even know if it was released on vinyl in the US. It may have recently got a reissue though. And the last one I'm going to show is kind of like a quirky Dinner with Red Cross. It's a 2-record set. One record is like a 12-inch with a Play My Song remix on it. And the other disc is an interview. But yeah, pretty cool. Third, the band that I have with the third most records. And I have 30 by this band, and it's the Beatles. This is Beatles 65. I don't have Meet the Beatles. I think Meet the Beatles is a great album. It's kind of a combination of the first two English records. And I think it's a superior album than the two English ones. This, I think, is a great US record too. No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, I'll Follow the Sun, and Mr. Moonlight. Side one of this is just fantastic. Another great US, but I would like to get a mono of this. And if they do a box set, I might get this. I didn't get the Revolver one. I got a good stereo version of the Revolver, and that's all I need. But yeah, this is a great album. This is a true album. It isn't like a couple of singles and filler. This is when the dawn of the album started. And another really good US one is Beatles Yesterday and Today. And this has got songs, some of the best John songs off of Revolver. That's why I never liked the US Revolver. And I didn't know until I was older that, oh wow, the English records are different than the US, But yeah, this has got some really good hard rocking songs. One of the best albums ever. Some people claim Revolver's better, but God, get out of here. And the last one I'm going to show by the Beatles is the Hey Jude album. Yeah, this one says Hey Jude, but other ones I don't think they do. And this is a good album, but it's got two songs. It's got I Should Have Known Better and Can't Buy Me Love. This is all stuff that wasn't released on their albums, singles, but those two songs don't fit. If they would have put the Lady Madonna's on here, if they would have put the B-side, Inner Light of Madonna, Lady Madonna on here, or maybe that You Know My Name song, it would have been a better album. Okay, number 2, the band or artist I have the second most records of. It's David Bowie. And this is like I think a cheapo, I don't know if it's from Spain or Italy or something. But yeah, they did a bunch of these bands. There's a big list. And I have a couple of them. If I used to see them in the dollar bins. But yeah, this is like 60s Bowie. Even, the pictures are a little deceiving. It's okay. David Bowie with Ziggy Stardust. Fantastic album. Really soulful vocals on Soul Love, Rock and Roll Suicide. But I love the opening track, 5 Years. You got Moon Age, Daydream, and Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City. Just great stuff. Another great album is Aladdin Sane. Aladdin Sane's very popular. The Genie. But my two favorite songs on here are Drive-In Saturday and Panic in Detroit. Just fantastic. The next one, Bowie, is Diamond Dogs. Now, I remember when I bought this, man, I was kind of disappointed, dude. No Willie. I was kind of disappointed with this. The production, the sound, it was a little rawer than what I was used to. David Bowie, I believe, plays all the guitars. But it's a great album, man. One of my favorites now. And a great live album is David Live. This is fantastic. I suggest people that don't like live albums, check this out, dude. You're out of your head. And maybe his last great album, Station to Station. Fantastic, man. If Low and Heroes followed it, if they would have taken the best songs off of Low and the best songs of Heroes, they might have had an album, or they would have had an album as good as this one, But the last album by Bowie that I think is I really love is Scary Monsters. It's got some wankers on it though, but the ending of side A, Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, Ashes to Ashes and Fashion. There's no better 3 songs in a row. And my last Bowie one I'm going to show is this interview disc from that era. Now, who could be the #1 album, #1 band or artist? I have 35 albums by this band, and it's the Cramps. And when I first heard the Cramps, I wasn't really that impressed until I saw them live. And this shot of them here live is kind of what it was like. You got Poison Ivy here, Nick Knox, Brian Gregory on the ground playing guitar, and then here's Lux Interior in the crowd climbing over the seat. It was just chaotic. All 4 members had a lot of charisma, but you couldn't keep your eyes off of Lux, dude. That guy was insane. Somebody just recently showed this. God dang, I can't remember who. And I told him, I think I have that. It was a different album cover, though. I've seen this album with 4 different covers, so you got to be careful when you're buying a Cramps bootlegs. This one's called Weekend on Mars. And what you go by is the date, August 18th, 1979. And it was recorded at Club 57 Irving Plaza. Really good live album. And this is like the original line with the original lineup. Now the lineup with Kid Congo Powers, saw them, and Kid Congo Powers was really good live too. And this is live at Clutch Cargo's Detroit, 1982. This is a great sounding bootleg. And the last time I saw the Cramps, they had 2 females, and I think she may be on bass here. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's Lux on the ground. And yeah, the last time I saw him was at Club Lingerie. And that Sean, the guy that's always changing his channel name, he was talking about this. This is the best Cramps album, and it's a comp. Bad music for bad people. I saw this, man, at the store on yellow vinyl. It turns out the colored vinyl ones are they're bootlegs. But look at that. At least I bought it used. It wasn't that much. But this one, I think, may be a little better. I think they both came out in '83. And this has more songs on it. It has almost everything off of this. And it has some extra. But anyways, that's it. Thank you for Melinda Murphy. These are my 2 honorable mentions. That they were 1 short of making it. I think I have 16 of these too. Either that or 15. But from what I gather, I think I have the same amount of. My collection is about the same size as Melinda Murphy. But man, she has a lot of Beatles, and her #1s, man, she was like in the hundreds, I think. Anyways, 35 Cramps, that's still a lot, man. Take care, everybody. I'll be back in a couple days.